Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in or clicking on the video today. Today I'll be discussing my March to be read list. It's not a very long list, I only have two books that I'm going to try to finish, but both of them. One's pretty thick and the other one's a ebook, so I'm not too sure exactly how thick, but it estimates the book to be about roughly around 250 pages. The first book in physical format that I have that I'll be reading is The Magnus by John Fowles. And I've read this author before. I've read The Collector, which I don't have with me. I do have it. It's somewhere in my bookshelf out there. But they have like a little picture of it. I read this one about a year, 2 years ago, and it was a psychological thriller, literary psychological thriller about a man who comes into the lottery and wins quite a bit of money, and he has enough money to sustain himself for quite a long time. Anyways, he becomes obsessed with a female art student, and he kidnaps her, and basically it just tells the story from his relationship with her and how he really builds her up in her mind, kind of idolizes her, kind of makes her into something she's not, and it deals with her emotions and her thoughts of not what's going on. I really enjoyed, well, I don't know if enjoyed's the right word. It held my interest very much so the last time I read one of his books. And this book, The Magnus, he wrote The Collector in between when he was trying to write this one, because this one, The Collector's about only like that thick compared to like this, and even the print's pretty small. So I'm going to try to read this book in the month of March. My goal is 2 books. This is one of them. And I'll read you the back. I'm going to skip over where it just talks about the author. But it says, the Magnus is Nicholas Yerf, a young Englishman who accepts a teaching position on a remote Greek island where he befriends a local millionaire. The friendship soon evolves into a deadly game in which the reality and fantasy are deliberately manipulated, and Nicholas finds he must fight not only for his sanity, but also his very survival. And from what I've seen, when I got it last time, or when I ordered it, is basically it's a psychological thriller again, kind of like The Collector, just different turnaround. Not quite the same story, but almost the same genre of story. And the last time I read his book with The Collector, he has a way of beautifully describing things and building up tension, very good character development. And if The Collector was just a side novel he wrote, which I think they made a movie, by the way. I remember seeing it. I think it was made in the, don't quote me here, but like the 70s. But this one I'm very curious about. He said basically that he was really working on this, like he wanted, like this was almost his life's work on that novel. I don't know the underlying themes of it or anything of that nature, but I'm really excited to check it out. And since I've been back at the reading habit again, that's something I want to do. Also, my other book, which I don't have, but I will be putting a picture up right over here, is, let me see, hold on just a second. A Solitude, A Return to Self by Anthony Storr. Anthony Storr is a British psychologist. He passed away in 2001, and when the novel or the book was originally published in 1988, and it's a nonfiction book, psychological or psychology, and basically with like other. It describes itself as a self-help book, but I'm not usually one to read those, but this one seems pretty interesting. Basically, since a lot of self-help books, like how do you interact better with others? Um, Five Languages of Love, I know, is one, and a couple others, where basically it's just how you should interact with people, how, or like influencing people and winning them over, or whatever that other book's called. But Solitude is basically what the title entails, is basically people who are by themselves for a moment or two have better recollections, to be more creative, to gather their thoughts, be it. He gives, I know in the synopsis, he talks about like how certain classical composers, Beethoven for example, would use solitude to compose great music, and also with like the arts and literature and everything, that humanity as a whole, like each of us as individuals, need a little bit of alone time, which I understand completely. I I'm not shy per se, but I am definitely more introverted, and I feel like this book's just gonna reinforce my beliefs on the positivity of being introverted and having time to oneself. So I'm gonna be reading that novel as well. Uh, I will be posting what I read in February, which was Stephen King's The Stand, The Street by Anne Petry, Petry, I believe. And I think that's all I did read one historical romance novel. I may not go over that one. It was a very short story, and it was alright, but it's not really worth the review. Maybe. I don't know. I'll see where I go on that. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully, I'll have the review of these books sometime in April. Thank you for clicking on the video. And if you've read this one, or the the Solitude, or Return to Oneself, please feel free to let me know what you thought of it, or if you sounds interesting to you, and if you get it, maybe a buddy read or something similar. But thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you like and subscribe, please do that. And thanks, guys. Have a nice day or night wherever you are.